Hey guys, Erie is here. I hope you've all had a good week, are keeping safe out there, and thank you for choosing to join me here on the channel for another video. If this is your first time here and you like watching all sorts of sim racing related stuff, then subscribe now and click the bell icon as well so you get notified of every video I upload and you don't miss a thing. So, here we are. This is my arrival into the 2020 official Gran Turismo FIA season. It started around late because I was kind of busy last weekend trying to keep it out of the walls at the Green Hell for 24 whole hours. But we're here now and we have a brand new manufacturer, the People's Manufacturer. I usually, well always actually, go with Lexus, but I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to shape the content here on this channel and allowing you to choose which manufacturer I'll be using for the rest of the year, which will naturally of course be in 90+% of all of my GT Sport content for the rest of the year, felt like a good way to do that. So I put it to a vote, and after 1800 votes and a brief scare that Dodge was going to win, Aston Martin was victorious. And after Aston Martin was picked by you guys, I had a choice myself, which model to choose. I had two options, the usual Aston we all are familiar with, or the DBR9. And I chose the DBR9 because quite simply it's something new and has a naturally aspirated 6 litre V12. As you can see on the mileage counter there, I haven't done many miles in this thing, so I'm expecting it to take a couple of races before I get comfortable with the car and truly up to speed. In the background here you will have seen that we are already in quali for this first round, and before we get into it I want to say how happy I am that we no longer have to burn fuel and waste all that time. Took you a while, Polyphony, but we got there in the end. Good job. So, this is a 5-minute qualification session. I needed to get a move on because on my return I wanted as many attempts as possible because I knew I'd be a little bit rusty. My first attempt was over before it even began, as you will have seen. I got caught out by those trying to find themselves some space at the end of the penultimate corner before they start their fast laps, and I got myself a 0.5 second penalty before I even crossed the line for my own flying lap. So that was that. On that lap as well I also got in the way of ghostly Raz Grizz, so I want to take the opportunity to apologise for that. My second attempt was treated as a banker lap. I wanted to keep it as clean as I needed to get that time on the board, which I managed to do so with a rather pedestrian 1 minute 30.576, which was only good enough for 14th at the time of me posting it, which left me with, as I crossed the line with 4 seconds remaining in the session, one last final lap. But ultimately I just couldn't improve and came across the line with a time 1/10 behind my previous attempt, and by the time it was all said and done we were left down in 17th place, a massive 1.4 seconds off the pole time. But moving on from quali, it's time to jump into the race session. So here we are then in the race session, and as always let's take a look and give props to the livery creator featured in this one. Alright now, today's Wrigley's inspired livery has been brought to you today by Amadeus Design. Thank you for the livery my friend, and I agree, everybody stay at home. But back to the race then. As the countdown timer elapses, we're going to get our first race of the new 2020 FIA season underway. And as always, especially more so in my first FIA race back, I'm going to try and keep it cool. Keep it cool, calm and most importantly clean for the first part of this race. We don't want to get into it with anyone or push too hard, increasing the risk of me making any mistakes that could see us getting spun or any penalties or anything like that. Just like back there, the unfortunate Frenchman who we passed on the left. So we're up to 16th early on in this one. As we make our way through turn number 2 here, everything seems to be reasonably safe at this point. But up ahead you're going to see someone struggling here, and we're going to take another place and move up to 15th early on in this one. We're going to stay nice and clean here. We're not going to go for the move on this guy. We're up the inside, but we're not going to challenge him because we know he's going to have the inside coming to the next corner. Now coming through here towards turn number 5. Everything looks again clean at this point, but then keep your eyes ahead. As we come into turn number 6, there are some shenanigans up ahead. Both drivers re-enter the track in the opposite direction of the apex, but thankfully neither of them collect anybody along the way. And just by keeping it clean, we have gained a number of positions on this opening lap, and we're now up to 12th place. And things were looking good, as you can see here, until I take just a little bit too much curb and cut the corner there on the right hand side, giving me a half-second penalty as we start lap number 2 here. Pulling to the left hand side here to serve my penalty, I'm immediately going to lose 12th place to the Finn there in the Corvette, and then I'm going to lose another position here to the Portuguese driver in the GTR. But I did, however, end up being able to get 13th place back here on lap number 3, as the Spaniard up ahead makes probably the most common mistake I see here at the Red Bull Ring. Too eager there on the power coming out of turn number 2, and round he went. We've all done it before though, so prayers up for that man. T2 is the scene of pretty much all the action in this one. And on lap number 4, the very next lap, I am going to be involved in some of that action. As 10th, 11th and 12th go 3 wide into the big braking zone, I tried to keep my distance, but they are slow on the exit and there is contact. At the time I thought he was losing it anyway, so I didn't slow down. I am, as I hope you all know, am always trying to be a gentleman racer, and racing etiquette is something I try to promote here on the channel. But on this occasion, in hindsight, I do think I was wrong. I can, when I take a second look, see that he wasn't losing it, and there was a chance he could have saved it there had there not been contact from us. So apologies there to that driver. I should have stayed back and let him back past. But as I didn't, we're moving on to lap number 5 here. Again at turn number 2, I told you this is where all the action was. Ahead is the Porsche in 11th, who has picked himself up a penalty. I'm keen to make the move here, as I want to try and stay in the slipstream with that Corvette up in front of him once the Frenchman serves his penalty. So I slam on the anchors here, end up going up the inside and make the apex. Up ahead the Corvette is going to get mega sideways on the exit. Well done to him for holding on to that one, but our early move paid off, and we find ourselves in the slipstream here in 11th place with an eye on a place in that top 10. But to get to the top 10, we're going to have to get past this vet. So I'm going to try and get my head down here and see what we can do about getting up and past that Finn. So having followed the vet round for the last couple of laps, I have closed the gap right up and got myself deep into the slipstream. And in an identical move to the one I pulled on the Porsche a few laps earlier, I'm going to get up the inside, slam on the anchors, make the apex and execute what I believe was another clean and textbook move here at the Red Bull Ring. Now I don't know why, but those 2 moves that I've made here at turn number 2 have been only simple ones, but they have really been quite satisfying. And now that we're in the top 10, obviously as a sim racer I want more. But there's no time to waste thinking about what I've done, as I need to get a move on. There are a group of 3 cars just under 4 seconds up the road, and the laps, as you can see, are ticking away fast. So I'm going to try and get my head down here yet again and see what we can do about the group up in front. And whilst I'm trying to do that, I realised that I hadn't introduced the race, or the door number, or even the strategy for this one. So whilst we're attempting to chase down that pack up in front, which is proving difficult right now, as you can see by the lack of progress on the Delta, I'm going to cover it. So this is round 2, but my first round of the new FIA Manufacturers Series. This is the second time that the official season has started in 2020, after the first time round went a little bit wrong, and Polyphony Digital decided to transform the first group of races back into exhibition series races and start the championship again, which is where we are right now. As I mentioned earlier, I missed one round because of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring on iRacing, and this is round number 2 here at the Red Bull Ring obviously. We have 15 laps here, hard tyres available only and no fuel consideration, so this is a flat out sprint. I am car number 8 in this one, so I find myself a couple of positions behind where the game thinks I should be from the driver rating of myself and the cars around me. I'm in the Aston Martin DBR9, just to recap, as a result of you, the viewers, who chose it from a vote that I did on the channel's community page. Now, I haven't used this car before, as I mentioned, so if we can limit the damage to our driver rating whilst we're getting used to it, I think that'll be a successful outcome for this one. And things were looking good. A top 10 would have been just fine, but then this happened. I run wide, not wide enough to get into the gravel, but wide enough to get a 1-second penalty. Now, I thought I was going to serve it straight away, so I pulled off the racing line just as the vet went round to make a move. I inadvertently blocked him as a result, so that is why I got out of the throttle there and gave up the position. Because I can imagine from his point of view, that looked pretty shady. So to just make sure that he knew that there was no ill will, I actually flash my lights at him there. The eagle-eyed amongst you would have seen me move my thumb to press the button on the Fanatec DD1 there on the wheel cam, just as a further apology. But I'm not sure why there is a need for that track limit at the corner where we got that penalty. If you go wide, the penalty should be that you end up in the gravel, surely, and you lose time that way. But let me know in the comment section down below whether you think there is a need for one there. Either way though, we have a penalty which is going to be an issue, as I have 3 cars in close proximity behind, and I anticipate I'll be overtaken by all of those when I serve my penalty. And as expected, I'm going to lose 1, 2 and then 3. So I lose them all, and I find myself down in 14th place, with 3.5 laps left to try and claw back as many of these positions that I have just lost as possible. Moving ahead now to the penultimate lap, lap number 14. Yes, you guessed it, again coming into turn number 2, where all the action is. I'm going to make another very satisfying move on the Porsche for 12th. Well, at least I thought I had. The yellows are out and someone has come a cropper up ahead. I gave him space and the Porsche is able to hang it round the outside, but watch the recovering Lexus here. We get a run on him, he moves to the left and then to the right as I try to go up the inside, blocking me and forcing me onto the grass. But then our old friend Karma instantly comes for him. Some instant karma is dished out as he's coming out of turn number 3 there. He gets on the loud pedal too early himself. Round he goes with a little help from us, but I don't have any guilt on that one because 1, he blocked us, 2, he was definitely going around anyway in my view, and 3, because you cannot mess with karma's wishes. And whilst we gained a place there, unfortunately you would have seen, due to the fact that we lost momentum, we lost the 11th place we briefly held to the Frenchman. I said earlier in one of the laps that I would have been happy with that, so I'm going to settle for this and try to bring this one home. Someone though who is not trying to do that is the Frenchman up ahead, as you can see, who is pushing really hard and got a massive tank slapper on coming out of the final corner. But the action didn't end there. As we come through turn number 1 here on the final lap, the Frenchman who just overtook us is going to bin it big style. And through the distraction, I run wide myself and get one last penalty. I got far too many in this one. I think it was down to a number of factors, a combination of things: ring rust, getting used to the new car, and the strict penalties here at the Red Bull Ring. So I'm going to serve my penalty, keeping my eye in the rear view, but thankfully by the time we make our way down to the braking zone of turn number 3, the Portuguese driver behind showed good restraint and does not go for a last speculative final lap lob up the inside, allowing us to keep hold of our 11th place. And that was the way it was going to finish. Considering this was my first race in the People's Choice, the DBR9, I didn't think it went too bad. I mean, I messed up quali a bit, therefore I started out of position. I was also disappointed with the number of penalties I got, but I put that, as I say, mainly down to the lack of time on the game of late, car control with a new car which I'll get used to as we do more races, and I'm also, not to forget, getting used to my new Fanatec DD1 direct drive wheel, so I think I'll get better as I have more experience with that too. So keeping it positive as I come over the line here, we rose 6 positions, which for me, whilst could have been better, is a decent start on this journey through the 2020 FIA season. With our new manufacturer chosen by you guys, Aston Martin. So as our 11th is confirmed here, let's take a look at our driver rating. We lost about 200 points with that one, and we are sitting at 54,181 now. And for now guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. We also now have merch too, so go check out the Teespring store below and go get yourself some of that if you want to support the channel there. But thanks again so much for watching guys, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.